Is Bitcoin ready to move up, or is it stuck in this triangle pattern? So, we had posted a chart on S&P 500, Nasdaq, and here's a chart on Bitcoin, and wanted to take a look at what patterns we're seeing, what structure formation. And so first, I want to point out that we do have, if you draw a line from this area, do have a potential triangle forming, in which case it's kind of like consolidating. And let me try to zoom in here. All right, so we got this guy, and if you do the same thing, maybe from here, drawing a line from here to there, right? You see this triangle forming potentially, assuming that recent low of 7,100 holds. So let's so then you have this kind of like A, B, C, D, right? A, B, C, D, E, and then potentially if we break out of the triangle, uh, it could be to the upside. Um, and if it were to the upside, what structure do we have in place, right? So we have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So this is a B. This is an A, this is a B. Now, the thing is, what are we getting at 1 or a C? Well, we have an AB 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we had an AB 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the upside that hit resistance, forming this top end of this uh, consolidating triangle. And then we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 A, and then a short B, followed by another 5 wave down. So it's almost like we have an ABCC, right? So in a way, we have here we have a C here, and over here we have potentially a D. And the question is, do we have the what's pattern is forming at this point? If you zoom in, okay, so if you zoom in, what do you see here, right? So maybe I zoomed in too much. It's still 1 hour, right? So this, we have this thing pulling down, and we have something moving higher. But what exactly is it? So, what we have here, the way I see it, is we actually have a leading diagonal, right? This is called a leading diagonal, right? In which case you have a large wave 1, large wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and then wave 5. Where wave 5 actually was cut short a little bit, right? So this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave 1 leading diagonal, so we could call this here a 1. And typically what happens at the end of the leading diagonal, it retraces towards this area here, right? So when it pulled back here, uh, at this area, I guess this would be the end of day in June 1st. This at this point, this was a potential buy entry, right? So assuming that this 70-50 entry level holds, and if that's the case, then this leading diagonal forms the structure, and once you have this movement higher over this 7,600 resistance zone, which we got over the weekend, you have another now an AB 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, another AB 1, 2, 3, 5. So now at this point, this could pull down once more into this area before we rocket up, as also another potential area. So the fact that we start with a leading diagonal uh, is a relatively good sign for the bulls because leading diagonals tend to lead, you know, patterns, right? And so whatever pattern that forms after that, um, you can say that it was formed by a leading diagonal. And combine that with the fact that it's the lower end of this triangle chain, of this triangle, uh, you know, a wedge that we're kind of forming, um, shows that this generally could be a buy entry zone uh, that fits along this structure. So if this structure were to play out, A, B, C, D, E, well, you might get an E, you might get a small F, and then if we break over this black line that comes down, um, we could go move up straight, or we might back test it one more time and before the rally happens. Now, in a previous video, I said when it was at 8,100, I said that the optimal buy point would be if it were to pull back. If we were to pull back into the 74 or 7,500 zone, this zone here, right? And that pullback only went to 7,900. And it turns out that we eventually did get that 75, 7,400, but so that it was here, was A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? That 2 I thought was going to come down to this 7,400 region. But it turns out we didn't get that until here and actually went even further, 7,100, maybe even a little bit below that. But this area, 7,500, actually did get tested, and it looks like we're moving above that right now. So if you zoom out, why did I say that 7,500 region? Because that's the backtest region. We, take this this downtrend line. It's a little bit off here, but if we move this downtrend line to this channel here, the kind of exact area that it broke out was around that 7,400, 7,500 region. And so that's why I thought it would retest where it broke that down channel, which it did like more than a month later. In fact, it went a little bit lower, and now we're just getting above it. So the question now is whether we get this E, and if we do, I would imagine it would get cut short possibly around 9,000 if it were to move back down, and it might consolidate there. But if it's able to move above this black line, then the bulls have control. I also think it's really interesting to note that in Bitcoin is actually kind of followed a month-to-month kind of momentum swing, right? So in January of 2018, it was mostly down, right? In February, it was mostly up. And then in March, it was mostly down. And then in April, mostly up. And in May, mostly down. So if it were to continue this pattern, then perhaps June we'll see mostly up. If that's the case, then there's a good chance that this should move up and break over 9,000. If the pattern is, that I suggested that worked for the past, 6 months is going to work, going forward for, this month of June. So we'll see what happens, but right now it looks promising because of this leading diagonal to the upside pattern followed by a wave 2 drop, followed by a move shortly after that breaks over 7,600. So right now it looks like momentum is shifting, so we'll have to see whether that pattern actually plays out. So that's the update for Bitcoin, and we'll see you guys next time.